Hello, welcome everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. Everyone can come take a seat. Welcome, welcome. Well, thank you all for coming tonight. Welcome to the, we have an echo. Welcome to the Almaden Valley Community Association. My name is Michele Dexter. I'm the president of the organization. Welcome, thank you all for being here. We have our tech team over here. And let's wave to everybody. And so tonight we have an exciting show. We have the students from Almaden Valley who participated in the Santa Clara County Science Fair. As you can see, I hope you've taken the opportunity to get to meet with them and see their projects. And we also have this evening the mayor's budget message presented by Hertzberg. So we'll be doing that a little bit later on. So to get us started, to kick us off, will be from our program team, Jane Farmer.
Thank you, Michelle, and it's just wonderful to see the turnout for science. Thank you all for coming this evening. We have the students, we invited all of the students, great, you have the numbers in front of you, who participated in this year's science fair from Santa Clara County. That took place on March 10th, and it was down at the San Jose Convention Center. And it was Santa Clara County-wide, all the schools in Santa Clara County, students from them participated. It was a landmark year where 1,144 students in grades 6 through 12 participating. There were 36 from the 95120 zip code who all received invitations, and about a third of them have joined us this evening and will be educating you in their specialty now in science. There were 783 projects, and you can see 1,144 students for 783 projects means there were group projects as well, and we have some groups here as well. Notably, there were approximately 450 volunteer judges and volunteer organizers. Look at that ratio. We have about 2.5 times students to the volunteers. That speaks to the volunteerism and the interest of adults in our community to support students in this kind of effort. So we really have to give a shout out to all the people who volunteered for this effort. In this room, we have two of the masterminds. We have Ann Burrell. Ann, I'm sorry, I'm going to make you embarrassed. She's going to stand up. She's one of the major organizers of this science fair. She drove down from Palo Alto this evening to witness our miracle here, our spectacle here. Thank you, Ann. We also have Jim Mason. Jim, you can't hide behind your camera. Jim vets all of these people who want to be judges, so you can't just be a judge at this fair by walking in. You have to show that you have some criterion for being able to judge the students' science. So thank you, Jim, for all that you do for the science fair as well. Newsflash, and you can read it behind me. Synopsis has been sponsoring this science fair, the Synopsis Foundation, for many years. How many, Anna? I wasn't sure.
They started in 1999.
1999? Oh, so 27 years they've been sponsoring this generously, but they are not continuing their sponsorship. So for all of you with contacts in industry, it's not that much. It's around $100K to have your name put on the Santa Clara County, the Silicon Valley Premier Science Fair. Talk to Ann or talk to me. They're trying to raise funds to be able to continue the science fair. Okay, that's the science fair. Now we're gonna feature our students. Students, if you would line up according to the number in the upper left-hand corner of the paper that you picked up when you came in. It shows your position in line. And I'll be calling each student up here, and they are going to fantastically condense down a year's worth of science into 1 minute and to wow you with the science that they've given. We do have a timekeeper. She's a little bit delayed, so I'm going to rely either on someone who's willing to pull out their phone and be a timekeeper until she gets here, or just on the kids having practice to be 1 minute in giving their talks. Any volunteers? Okay, don't all jump up at one time.
Anytime you're ready.
Okay, we got a 1 minute timer, all right. Our first students this evening is Eric Dong and Julia Yang, and they will tell us about the Velocity Launcher project. They're in 6th grade at Castellaro Middle School. Eric and Julia.
Hi, my name is Julia. And my name is Eric. We made a ping pong server that can help people practice ping pong without a trained partner. Our machine is capable of turning different directions and shooting ping pong balls precisely up to 10 feet. We initially considered using a slingshot or a catapult, but both options were inaccurate. We ultimately chose a flywheel system, which allows for precise shots and remains stable while using it. The system functions by accelerating a flywheel, to a high speed. The ping pong ball is fed through a J-shaped tube, directing it into a flywheel, which propels the ball outward. To turn the machine, we used a servo motor to turn the top part of the machine precisely and accurately. One major issue we encountered was vibration. The DC motor was causing the machine to vibrate because it was spinning a bit too fast. We solved this problem by adding a big rock inside the machine and changing the mounting platform to a more sturdy one. We also added suction cups to the bottom of the machine. Thank you.
Students, after you've given your 1-minute madness speech, you continue over there to get your certificate and to get your picture taken. Our next student is Ryan. Ryan in position 3. Ryan is a 7th grader at Stratford Middle School. His project is Smart Baby Fever Alert System.
Hi, my name is Ryan and my project is called the Smart Baby Fever Alert System. A fever in babies can be a sign of serious illness and can be dangerous if not treated quickly. Currently, parents of sick babies have to wake up many times throughout the night just to check their baby's temperature. This can leave them exhausted, increasing the risk of them missing a check. In addition, this may wake up the baby, making it even more fussy. So, the purpose of my project was to create a system that accurately measures a baby's temperature and sends an alert to the parents when the temperature goes too high. To build my project, I used a temperature sensor pointing to the baby's underarm. The sensor is connected to a Raspberry Pi, which reads the temperature every 30 minutes. The temperature is also stored in a log file, which can be shared with a pediatrician. If the temperature exceeds 38 degrees Celsius, then a message is automatically sent to the parent's phone to alert them. In conclusion, my project created an inexpensive, real-time, and accurate system that will accurately measure a baby's temperature in real time and send an alert to the parent's phone when there is a fever. Thank you.
Our next project is HydroScan, Food Spoilage Prevention Through Water Activity Analysis. Oh, there we go, got it back. Riti Balaji. Riti is an 8th grader at Bret Harte Middle School.
Hello, my name is Riddhi Balaji and I'm here to present about my project HydroScan, which is a low-cost device used to measure water activity in foods. Water activity measures the amount of free water in a food, especially shelf-stable foods, and it is important because when water activity increases, so does the risk of spoilage. The community I focused my project on was the elderly population, who have a difficult time keeping track of and storing their foods. So it is important for them to have a device that is easily accessible, cheap, and can show the safety of the food. The HydroScan solves this problem by using a digital relative humidity sensor. And in the headspace of a mason jar with food on the inside, it approximates the water activity in the headspace. Then it is connected to a microcontroller, and I have pre-programmed values into it using the computer. And then, depending on the values from the sensor, the microcontroller controls 3 LED lights mounted on top of the LED jar. And depending on if it's greater than or less than a certain value, it shows either green, yellow, or red to easily alert the user if the food is safe. Finally, HydroScan was tested to be 95% accurate and is used in real-life scenarios, making sure the HydroScan is accurate and cheap, costing only $35, so it is a useful tool for vulnerable populations.
Our next student is Keshav Ramakrishnan. He is an old-timer at our AVCA annual science fair presentation. You could probably run it by now, couldn't you? He'll be talking to us about underwater coral reef restoration eelbot. He is an 8th grader at Challenger School, Shawnee.
Due to coral bleaching, coral reefs around the world are dying out at a rapid pace. And while this might not seem like much of a problem, especially to us, it truly is. Coral reefs are a hub of many important resources, whether this is biodiversity and seafood, or even medicines that are helping solve cancer, coming from sea slugs and sea cucumbers? Yeah, I didn't believe it either. But, so, in hopes to solve and help sustain the coral population, I engineered this eelbot, which has the goal of delivering coral larvae to daily parts of coral reefs, swimming through the traveling wave motion just like an eel does, streaming live camera footage, and rising and sinking with a swim bladder. Thank you.
Keshav just returned from the state competition where he proceeded from our local county competition. Our next speaker is Novak Vlihas. I might be pronouncing it wrong, please correct me. EcoShield, a comparative analysis of thermal conductivity in sustainable versus synthetic insulation materials. He is a 9th grader.
Hi, my name is Novak Avliash. I did my project on insulation between 4 different materials: sheep wool, fiberglass, denim, and 3D printing. I put each of them into 4 boxes so that I could find out which one was able to maintain heat the best. I then heated up each of the boxes to around the same temperature and then cooled them using ice. After this, I then measured each of the temperatures every 2 minutes for a 30-minute long period. I found my results were that 3D printing and denim were able to keep heat the best out of all 4 of the materials. Thank you.
Students, I forgot to mention, after we're all done, after Ananya and Avni speak, then we'll be gathering as a group for a group picture too, so don't go too far. Our next speaker is Driti Bharadwaj, Finding Communities in Need, Using Machine Learning Estimates to Direct Hypertension Awareness Efforts. Driti is a 10th grader at Archbishop Mitty.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Driti. I'm a rising junior at Archbishop Mitty High School, and it's lovely to speak with you this evening. So my project focuses on the issue that around 18% of Americans who have hypertension or high blood pressure are currently unaware of their condition. And for a disease that is so prevalent, the fact that this number is so high is incredibly concerning. And while at the larger geographical area level, information on hypertension awareness rates is available, this information remains absent on the smaller scale level, and this is where my project comes in. My goal is to provide public health campaigns with information on zip code level hypertension awareness rates in order to allow them to better target key communities in their outreach. My machine learning tool was able to identify key communities across the country with low hypertension awareness rates. And in the future, I plan to continue this project to hopefully contact county public health departments to see where I can take it further. Thank you.
Our next project is a team project among 3 team members from Hillbrook. I presume you're all 10th graders, but correct me if I'm wrong. Vikram Devaru, Carter Pruitt, and Aiden Teheranian will be speaking about exploring the influence of intersection type and traffic dynamics on microparticle loading in Metro San Jose.
Hi, I'm Vikram. I'm in 10th grade.
I'm Aiden Tehranian. I'm in 9th grade.
I'm Carter. I'm in 9th grade.
6-PPD is a toxic plastic compound that causes salmon die-offs and harms the environment. It is deposited daily on roadways just when you drive your car. Bioswales can capture up to 98% of these rubble particles. The question is where we put these bioswales. To do this, we took over 200 photos under a microscope to find microplastics. And last year, we looked at how these microplastics moved across the roadways.
This year, we looked at a larger scale at microplastic loading across different types of intersections, like a 4-way stop and traffic lights. We found the most microplastics at stop signs.
This information can do lots of things. For example, we can see where microplastics are most prevalent and how to best interpret them. For example, at the intersection of Blossom Hill and Camden, we estimate about 105,000 new microparticles per day. We can use this information to make better and more environmentally friendly choices for our cities.
Well-coordinated threesome. Our next speaker is also a veteran to the science fair presentations at ABCA. Haripriya Ramakrishnan will be talking about fabricating alternatives for PFA-based coatings. She's a junior at Presentation High School.
All right, good evening, everyone. I really appreciate the opportunity for another year. So basically, in the world of material science, we have a forever problem. PFAS, also known as forever chemicals, are in everything, from our pans to our soil, and they never break down. Basically, in English, it's practically a toxic relationship we desperately need to end. My project focuses on developing eco-friendly industrial coatings. By testing sustainable polymers and crystalline structures, I found developments that support the fact that we can achieve high-performance, non-stick results without the environmental baggage. We don't have to sacrifice performance for the planet, as my baseline research shows that we can actually build a future that's high-tech but also low-impact. And while I'm busy trying to save the planet, yes, the crazy Eelbot kid is my younger brother, and I'm proud of it. Thank you.
I wonder what they talk about at the dinner table. Our next project is a team project from Valley Christian High School. Brian Hugh and Kaylee Deep will be talking about the development of biodegradable chitosan cellulose nanofibers as filter media for medical masks via electrospinning.
Hello, my name is Kaylee Deep.
And I'm Brian.
And today, we're presenting our project. As you may know from our recent pandemic, COVID-19, the use of disposable masks has increased astoundingly. However, the problem with these masks are that they are made of non-biodegradable synthetic materials such as polypropylene. So as these masks are disposed of, they release tons of toxic chemicals into our environment. That's why our solution is to create biodegradable filter media out of chitosan, which is shrimp shells, and cellulose acetate, which are found in plants.
So the reason why we chose chitosan is because they have antimicrobial properties, And in our literature review, we saw that other people have done research on using cellulose acetate-based filters, but however, while they all evaluated the filtration capability, etc., they haven't evaluated the biodegradability. So what we did was we went out to replicate the formulations of these separate cellulose acetate-based filters, and we went out to test their biodegradability using CO2 evolution as a proxy. Because as things biodegrade, they release carbon dioxide, and thus carbon dioxide can act as an indicator of how easily biodegradable these filters are.
Aiden Chi will tell us about comparative inhibitory effects of a licensed Vibrio strain and niacin on Vibrio across different concentrations. Aiden is a junior at Valley Christian High School.
So, in this world, there's an ever-increasing problem of antibiotic resistance. This problem creates challenges within our society as our main way of fighting bacteria is slowly becoming obsolete. This is especially harmful to many different agricultural industries, such as the shrimp farming industry, where every year they lose $40 billion from a single disease caused in the gut microbiome of shrimp. What my project aimed to do was find whether or not an alternative to antibiotics, bactericins, was an effective inhibitor of this disease caused by Vibrio. Now, what I essentially did was I took live Vibrio strains and I tested their capabilities as a live bacteria cell against other Vibrio. This tested whether or not they could truly hold up when they were extracted for their antimicrobial proteins, and their antimicrobial proteins were used in a solution for inhibitory efficacy testing. After this, I identified a few candidates where I continued to hone whether or not they were truly effective before finding one candidate that I lysed, which essentially means I killed it. I killed the bacteria in a solution while centrifuging the solution to make sure that all the dead debris sank to the bottom, while only the antimicrobial proteins stayed in the supernatant or the solution above. This provided me with the opportunity to test its efficacy against 60 strains, which provided me with a conclusion that Vibrio, that the antimicrobial proteins produced by Vibrio are an effective inhibitor of other Vibrio strains, showing the true efficacy and the true potential of bacteria in inhibiting their own species. Thank you.
Our evening is wrapped up with a team project from Presentation High School, a couple of college-bound seniors from Presentation High School. Ananya Kidambi and Avni Desai will tell us about the effect of using machine learning algorithms on the accuracy of the prediction of dopamine neurotransmitters.
Good evening. My name is Ananya, and my name is Avni, and thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to talk about our project. So our project essentially tests machine learning on dopamine neurotransmitters. And dopamine neurotransmitters are molecules found in our brain that are implicated in a lot of very serious conditions like schizophrenia and Parkinson's disease. But the reason why dopamine is really hard to test experimentally is because it's very similar to a bunch of other neurotransmitters and also is constantly changing configurations, meaning it's really hard to test experimentally. And so we conducted a lot of research and found a study that tested the dopamine 3 neurotransmitter with machine learning algorithms, and we decided to conduct similar research with the dopamine 2 neurotransmitter in order to potentially create better drug development for those serious conditions. But what exactly did we do, Ananya? Well, I'm glad I can answer. So what we did is we took a huge chunk of data that was about the dopamine 2 neurotransmitter, and we ran it through 3 different machine learning models. We ran it through something called QSAR, also known as random trees. We ran it through MLP, and we also ran it through a GNN. So because after running all of our models, we saw that the GNN performed the best out of all of the models. And that shows how important, then it shows the potential of using machine learning in these drug development and drug development tool sciences. Thank you.
Students, if you'll all gather over here for a group picture while the rest of us breathe a sigh of relief that the future's kind of bright with you guys around. You did a great job not only of your science over the course of the year, but also of keeping to your 1 minute and presenting tonight. It's very challenging to distill down a year's worth of work into 1 minute. You aced it, all of you, and you also educated a lot of people. So one final round of applause for the whole group. Rock stars, you guys all right?
Right.
Okay, Michele?
We're going to go ahead and continue on with our program for the evening. And next up, we have from the mayor's office. A lot of excitement over there. All right, this evening we have the mayor's budget message presented by Keith Hertzberg. Keith has been working in the mayor's office for 5 years now, and he is the mayor's budget advisor. So he is more than qualified to speak with us this evening. And without further ado, let him introduce himself further. Keith.
All right. All right, so I will do my best to be as exciting as dopamine research, eelbots, PFAS research, but no promises, but I'll do my best. So, all right, we're gonna try out the clicker and see how good this works. But to introduce myself a little bit further, I'm Keith Hertzberg. I serve as a budget and innovation advisor to Mayor Mahan. I am born and raised in South San Jose myself. I went to Castellar Middle School, graduated from Pioneer High School, so know this area well, and it's really good to be here with you at the Almaden Valley Community Association tonight. So what I'm going to do is provide just a very quick overview, try to breeze through a lot of content, and we're going to save questions for last, and I'll do my best to answer everything. If you have a specific slide you want to go back to, try to keep it in mind, and we'll do our best to switch back to it. So to start, where are we at in the budget process? So currently we are here at the budget study sessions and town halls portion of the budget process. We just recently passed the mayor's March budget message in early March, and now we are telling the community about what's included in that. And then the next step will be the city manager will come back on May 1st to give, and will publish her proposed operating budget, which outlines all of the investments and difficult trade-offs that we're going to have to make this year. And then we respond with the June message, which is our response to that proposed operating budget, including some other council pet projects, and then the council votes on that, and we have a baked budget. So, the total budget in the city of San Jose is $7.2 billion. This is both capital budget and operating budget. The operating budget is the general fund, which is the primary funding source we're going to be talking about today, and special funds. The way I like to describe operating versus capital is operating is your librarians, capital is the libraries, the building itself. So this budget represents 250 programs across 74 different services, 19 departments. You'll notice there at the top, I always like to point this out, the 4.7% in community and economic development. That small category is the money that the city spends to make more money, to influence more economic development. Two notable things you'll see missing from this budget are schools and behavioral health. Schools are operated by their own independent boards, as we all know. I know this is a topic, at the top of everyone's mind in Almaden right now. And behavioral health, which is a primarily county-operated function. All right, so I said we were going to mainly talk about the general fund this evening. So most of the general fund goes towards paying the people that provide the basic services to keep our city running. That's police officers, firefighters, libraries, parks, code enforcement, and homeless solutions. This is the slice of the budget we are going to focus on. And it's important to note that we only actually have real decision-making power over 66% of that. Only 66% is discretionary. The reason for that is because 19.2, nearly 20%, is tied up in unfunded pension liabilities. Meaning off the top, even before we start discussing what investments we're going to make for specific programs, 19.2% of that is going to pay former employees of the city. So why is this the case? Historically, City Hall and councils of past made some pretty poor decisions in relation to contracts and labor negotiations, and has left us, the taxpayers, and this current council to foot the bill. I do want to note, though, that while this is 19.2% now, we are going to be peaking in the near future. And if we have continued good fiscal stewardship with this council, we will see a far less and decreased impact on the general fund. So that 19.2% will get, start whittling its way down, and we'll have more dollars to spend on essential services that we all depend upon. So now we want to talk a little bit about where does the city actually get its revenue. So the city's two largest revenue sources are property and sales tax, which make up 60% of general fund revenue. A fun fact for you is that the property and sales tax that is collected by the city doesn't even cover the public safety departments, police and fire in the city of San Jose. So we have to diversify our revenue, which is why we have business tax, utility tax, and the other revenue streams that you see there. San Jose, as I'm sure many of you know, having being active members in ABCA, San Jose is also we have extremely low property and sales tax revenue per capita compared to other neighboring cities. The reason for that, anyone have a guess why?
Bedroom community.
That's right, the bedroom community. We don't have as many jobs here, so our sales and property tax is more limited. The other interesting thing is that obviously, the city of San Jose does not receive the full load of property tax payments. We actually only receive 10 cents for every dollar of property tax collected. The vast majority goes to schools and county as well. So we only get a sliver of that. So broader trends in our economy, the reason for this slowing sales tax is because we're seeing property tax growth slow and sales tax decline. This is a broader trend across the state of California, but San Jose is not spared in that slowed economy. Our job growth is also stagnant. Job growth is a key indicator for healthy budgets. If you see growing jobs and employment base, you'll also see budgets in healthier situations with more sales tax and property tax coming to city coffers. Office vacancies across the city are relatively high still. Downtown specifically is nearly 30%. So we still have a lot of commercial space that needs to be filled, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a couple slides. And development activity across the city is also relatively weak. We're seeing less buildings pop up, and that's having an impact on our budget and our overall economic growth. So what does that mean? We have rising costs that are outpacing revenue growth, and that's leaving us with a $56 million budget deficit in this fiscal year. So I know that sounds like a lot of money, but that's actually a relatively small amount within the context of our entire budget, and compared to other large California cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco, where they're facing massive layoffs and service cuts, we are, I'm not going to say fortunate to have a budget deficit, but we are in better shape than those other cities. So we can't operate as a city in California with a deficit, so we need to balance. So that means we're going to have to make difficult trade-offs, especially because next fiscal year we are projecting almost a $27 million shortfall following this year. So how are we going to focus our decision making? Anyone who has been to a town hall or talked with Mayor Mahan, you know that he has pushed forward focus areas. So we have 5 focus areas. These focus areas behind me directly align with the priorities outlined in our annual resident survey. That's neighbors like you telling us what is important and what you want the city to focus on in solving the most important issues. So we, as a council, and the mayor did this when he took office, have all decided to focus on these 5 areas. The first one we're going to talk about is reducing unsheltered homelessness. So in San Jose, our top priority has been to bring people indoors, and we built the capacity to do so. We built interim housing units, converted motels and hotels, opened safe parking sites for RVs and lived-in vehicles, as well as safe sleeping sites, which are sanctioned tent encampments. We built more placements than any other city on the West Coast, and now we operate a shelter system which is 2,200 units. So when they're available, since we have 2,200 units, we're also making sure that people use that shelter, and we are preventing re-encampment from previously abated areas. So when the Beautify SJ teams go out and they offer folks a placement in one of these sites, we're making sure that areas are not re-encamped. So now that we have a shelter system that is 2,200 units, we need to optimize. We are running this, but it is expensive, and we need to make sure that we are focusing the dollar and getting as much impact as we can. So what are we doing? We are going to negotiate lower operating costs system-wide by standardizing agreements with service providers that operate these sites, maybe security contracts that are going to be optimized, food service contracts, that kind of thing. We also have a new partnership with the county that is going to be integrating with our EIH systems to provide some more of the wraparound services that we offer at those sites. The county is also committed to opening an additional 220 mental health beds in the region, not just our interim sites. Next slide. So, how do we prevent people from falling into homelessness in the first place? San Jose has developed a nationally recognized model of a homelessness prevention system in partnership with the county and with Destination Home. Through this program, since it's been stood up, 1,800 families have been served, 70% of which are San Jose-specific families. And after they received this support, 95% of those households remained housed in that year that they received the support, and 92 avoided entering homelessness 2 years after receiving that support. So we know the easiest and most cost-effective way to limit homelessness is to make sure people don't fall into homelessness in the shelter system to begin with. So that's one way. Second way, Homeward Bound. Homeward Bound is a reconnection program. This is where we are helping people who are actively living on the streets reconnect with loved ones. If they're living in San Jose on the streets right now, how can we reconnect them with a parent, a sibling, a loved one in another city in California or outside the state, and then following up with them after they are brought back into their care and off of our streets. And then the last way is San Jose Bridge. San Jose Bridge is a work program for unhoused individuals that provides them with some income and that helps them build a path to self-sufficiency. So that is a partnership with Goodwill, and it's a great way to make sure that people are kind of being accountable, holding themselves accountable and earning a little income while they get themselves back on their feet. The next focus area is cleaning up our neighborhoods. So, together in San Jose, over the last year, we removed almost 25 million pounds of trash off of our streets. And it's a long way to go, but we know that resident satisfaction with the city services to clear blight and litter off our streets has increased 13% according to our annual resident survey. So we're doing a lot to restore our environment and our surrounding community, but there's a lot of work to be done still. A great example of this improvement has been restoring San Jose's central trail system, the Guadalupe River Trail. And block by block, we set up what's called a no encampment zone, meaning that in the areas around the creek bed, we said there's not going to be encampments here, and we're going to abate, and we're going to make sure that that progress is preserved. So what is the benefit of that? The park is looking great. People are back using the trail system. Trail usage from around Waz Way has increased 110%, and then 35% around Coleman. So that's great news. Hopefully we'll see that continued activity along the trail system. And as encampments pop up, we now have policy authority to go and say you can't encamp this area, and we can continue restoring that site. What else are we doing to beautify? We are cracking down on graffiti. So we are removing still quite a bit of graffiti across the city. Our focus has primarily been on enforcement. Our police department has caught a few prolific taggers and then offered them restitution instead of making sure that they're not defacing our city further. So graffiti is down 18%, and resident satisfaction with the city's efforts to remove that graffiti is up 10%. So along with these blight efforts, it's the same thing as our shelter system. We need to get faster, more efficient, and we need to optimize given our budget situation. So it's great to see satisfaction increase on our resident survey, but we have to do more to be faster. So there's an opportunity now to use technology to deter illegal dumping, and we've also set an ambitious goal in the March budget message to decrease code enforcement citation time from 65 days to 10. The way we're doing that is we're giving authority to other departments other than code enforcement to say, hey, you can give a citation, and we're going to give them some support that they need, get some more bodies writing those citations. We've also noticed some inefficiencies with our free junk pickup program. I'm sure many of you have taken advantage of this program, but we need to make sure that certain items aren't being left and then becoming an illegal dumping issue. So we're trying to corral those two services and make sure that when you do request a free junk pickup, that the item being requested to be picked up is actually picked up, and we don't have to send an additional different team to go pick up that dumping. And then we asked many of you, all of our residents of San Jose, to use our 311 app, but we have to make sure that the 311 app is responsive and works when we request a service. So we're going to continue to invest in the improvement of the 311 app and make sure that it's responsive and then being clear on what the action being taken is when you submit that request. Next focus area is improving community safety. So I'm sure you've all read the news stories that San Jose has been renamed the safest big city in America. Violent crime is down 80% since 2023. Property crime is down 7% in that same time. And we are the only large city in America that can say for 4 years running now, we have solved 100% of our homicides, which is a testament to SJPD and all of you, because we know that effective law enforcement looks like public trust in making sure that our residents are reporting illicit activity or suspicious activity and being really that trusted partner in solving these crimes. But it's something to be proud of. And we've done this with one of the leanest police forces in America. We gave the police chief a goal of stabilizing our workforce, and he has done that. We've seen in the last year academy sizes increased by 35%, which is great, but it's still not exactly where we need to be. We're just under 1,000 street-ready officers in the city, and that number should look more like 1,100, 1,200 officers to be properly staffed. We are up 5 net officers on the year, and it's progress, but we still have investments to make there. In the meantime, technology is supporting our San Jose Police Department, so we've used automated license plate readers and our real-time intelligence center. Basically, every large crime that you have seen solved or addressed on the news in the last year or so by San Jose PD, those two resources have been helping them and address them. Now, the next focus area is growing our economy. So this is that 4% I mentioned. We have to spend money to make money in the city of San Jose, and we're extremely dependent on economic development to make sure that our budget situation is where we want to be. So San Jose is about to see its power supply triple in the next few years, and so instead of gearing up to fight a lengthy legal battle with PG&E over a municipal utility, we decided let's partner up and make sure that San Jose is power ready and the most power ready city in California. We already have a dozen or so projects coming online in the next few years through this partnership, some of which are data centers, which generally are powered with 93% carbon-free energy and recycled water. The other additional benefit of data centers is for every 99 megawatt data center that is brought online, that's about $6 to $7 million in general fund revenue. So that's hiring more police officers, that's keeping our Sunday library hours, and many other essential services that we all want to see. Other major job producers are opening up R&D and advanced manufacturing campuses as well. One such example is the proposed Google LVSO hub that is expected to bring in thousands of jobs and additional property and utility tax revenue to the city. We've also achieved 10 years of net business growth, and this is something to be proud of. 7 new business improvement districts over the last 3 years. The council has been extremely active in organizing these in various parts of the city. What this is business owners and business corridors coming together and buying in and making sure that they're essentially taxing themselves to then have improved services and more connectivity in their neighborhoods. 2025 was also the highest sales tax receipt year for restaurants in our city's history. So continue to go out on date nights in San Jose. Don't go out to a fancy dinner, Cupertino, stay in San Jose if you can. We also have 82 AI startups in our city, which have raised a collective $8.4 billion in venture capital. This is huge, and it shows that San Jose still is kind of on that cutting edge of innovation, and we want to make sure that those AI companies continue their growth and to scale here in San Jose. And the way we do that is by becoming a place that is worthy of their investment. We also need to play to our strengths. So we know that many of you are included in this, that 1 in 5 residents hold STEM degrees, and that 1 in 5 San Joseans work in manufacturing. So we need to play to our strengths. We have directed our Office of Economic Development this year in the March message to identify clusters where we have a comparative advantage and reinvest and have a strategy around those different clusters. making sure that things like AI or advanced manufacturing, semiconductor production and R&D are here in San Jose and producing good, high-paying jobs. We also know that over 60,000 small businesses call San Jose home, and those owners are pursuing the American dream. We need to make sure that we, as the city, are supporting them and getting off their back when we can. So how are we doing that? We're going to be streamlining permitting for restaurants. We're going to grow our storefront activations grants, which help with some of that startup cost of small business, as well as expanding our downtown leasing incentive, which hopefully for some of those 82 AI startups will help them call downtown San Jose home and establish their workforce presence here. Another bet we're making is our experience economy. So we just hosted the Super Bowl and March Madness, which were huge opportunities for the city of San Jose, and we still have the FIFA World Cup coming soon in June, July. So the experience economy, just for some stats, we saw over 500,000 people come into downtown San Jose for the Super Bowl parties that we threw. San Pedro Market business owners experienced their busiest weekend ever, and they reported their single day of sales record was broken by 30%. So their busiest weekend ever was shattered. So it's really great to see, and we need to provide more opportunities for large-scale events to come into San Jose and call this, and really become the destination that we know we can be. So here's a couple other events that are coming to San Jose in the near future. This year we already had NVIDIA GTC, which is one of the largest tech conferences in the world. Coming up soon, we do have the FIFA World Cup. We are developers, you'll see in September. This is Europe's version of GTC. It's the largest tech conference in the EU. And then we also have some fun ones like Judo United and Slam Jose, which is a basketball tournament. So we still have a lot of events just this year, but we are still doing more to attract these kind of events in the out years. All right, so next, our final focus area is building more housing. All right, so, one second here. All right, so in 2024, we had 0 market rate starts in San Jose. That is completely unacceptable. So we incentivized multi-family housing. Last year, we broke ground on 2,000 new homes in areas already planned for growth and around transit. And this year we expanded eligibility to over 2,000 additional units, and we hope those break ground soon. We also need housing across the income level and income spectrum, so that obviously means we need affordable housing. Last year we permitted almost 1,300 units, and we've averaged, a great fun fact, we've averaged investing nearly $50 million in affordable housing over the last 7 years. We need more housing across the income level and in places where we've already designated as growth areas. So how are we doing that? We are helping housing pencil in the city of San Jose. We need to pull every lever we can to spur the development of housing. That includes incentivizing converting some of our old empty office space downtown. This example on the screen is the Bank of Italy project, one of the most historic buildings in San Jose. It just last week broke ground to start work on its conversion from office space to residential. So how did we do that? We helped cut construction costs, we reduced parkland fees, and we're removing some inclusionary housing ordinances. So, we can help that break ground, and we can't, the important note here is that we can't collect future revenue if the project isn't built to begin with. So we're trying to help it get started, and then we can have the housing that we need, and we have the economic development that we want to see. Additionally, we are creating new home ownership opportunities. So we know how hard it is to break into the housing market. So what we're trying to do in San Jose is expand that market. And the way we're doing that is a new state law that allows ADUs to be sold as condos. We're taking advantage of that. San Jose was the first city to actually have a condoized ADU in the state. And the reason for this is we need to add more options for young home buyers so they can build equity and enter the market at a reasonable price. So this year we're exploring what ADU homeownership looks like in a pilot for first-time home buyers, and there'll be more on that come May in the proposed operating budget. And to close, we also have some other important work that the city is focused on. The Children and Youth Services Master Plan is a big deal for us. The city annually invests millions into our youth, and this service master plan establishes a more long-range vision for how we can provide cradle-to-career support for our community. This year, even though we have limited funds and we're facing a deficit, we think it's time to move some of our more critical programs, like workforce development and after-school program, into a more stable funding source. Additionally, we are going to be exploring audit contract spending and some more accountability measures. So as the 12th largest city in America, we know that we have to depend on outside entities like vendors and contractors to deliver certain services, but we need to make sure that we're getting our money's worth and they're doing the job that we intended. That's putting boots on the ground inspectors and making sure that we are getting the service that we're paying for. I do want to note though, this is not necessarily the fraud conversation that we're talking about, it's just making sure that we are paying into services that we believe in. And so San Jose, just want to let everyone know, we annually receive a clean and no issues audit from an external auditor, and that's making sure our finances are clean and there's no bad things happening within our budget, and we are making sure that we are on point there. So to close, obviously we value your trust and we want to make sure that we are funding the services and needs of our community. We do always want to highlight though that in the last 3 years, trust in City Hall is up 40%. The way we have earned that trust and increased that trust is by focusing across those services that were previously mentioned, making sure that we are delivering the results that our community wants to see, and that we are listening and responsive to the priorities that you have outlined for us. And we don't take that trust for granted. This year, we are going to have to sharpen our pencils and really have a difficult conversation about trade-offs, but I want you to know that this deficit will only help us focus. So that's it. I just want to turn to questions. I'm sure many of you have hard ones for me, but I hope that was informative and hopefully we can get into it. Yes, sir. In the back, one of our youth.
Hello. I was wondering, because I see you do you're having a lot of investment on housing and on many events in San Jose. Are there any other things you're doing to improve the street life?
Street life like?
Like more, opening up more closed buildings, bringing more people walking around downtown, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit what I talked about in the experience economy. Bringing large events in and making sure that it's safe, first of all. So encouraging folks who live in Almaden to come downtown, make it fun, make it easy to get in. So making sure that our parking garages are up to snuff, that kind of thing. But in terms of like nightlife and street life, I think that's mainly like we have to pay for safety and cleanliness, but then the more like programming and stuff like that, we'll leave that up to like private business owners, like the clubs and the bars and SAP Center that's out there. But I think we can create the conditions to have a better nightlife in downtown. You'll see that if you pay attention to City Council, there's a new, our office is not involved in this currently, but there's a new proposal to reintroduce al fresco dining, which is outdoor dining, and that was popular back in the COVID years, restaurants having the ability to have a couple outside tables that are not within their doors, and that might be a positive boon as well to that foot traffic. I see Lydia.
Okay, I guess my question or comment is right on.
Hold on, it needs to be mic'd so the Zoom people.
We'll put it on mic. I'll get you. Go ahead, Lydia.
Hello. My comment is kind of right in line with al fresco dining. That please don't leave the rest of the city out in the cold when discussing the permitting al fresco dining, because it seemed like from what I read that the city was going to concentrate it on downtown areas and different business district areas, but the rest of the city should be able to do the same thing. And it certainly helps a lot. As people that we have with our great weather, we should be encouraging that and allowing the restaurants to do it. Get out of the way. Yeah.
Appreciate that. Our council colleagues are the one bringing that memo forward. I'll be sure to relay that to our economic development policy folks. That hey, I'm sure what it's probably because it's focused on downtown. They're trying to start with a smaller subset of the city and then seeing how it can be expanded upon. But I'll be sure to take that note to our folks. Thank you, Lydia.
I have a few questions, but I'm going to just give you one now. Specifically, how many residents did you clear out of the jungle with the encampment breakdown on this point? I know it was quite expensive, both with resources, people, and the removal of property from that. But I was also just curious how many of them went into housing, and what was the cost of that removal, and what was the result in them getting housing? Or did we just run into another
So, great question. My colleague Ben here might be better suited to answer this. I don't have the stats off the top of my head.
Sure. Hey, Ben Irwin, I work in Mayor's Communications Office. So the jungle abatement is actually starting this week. And we believe there's about 100 or so folks currently in the jungle. And as we know right now, all of them have agreed to shelter. Typically, when we start abatements, that number tends to drop when push actually comes to shove. So we may see that number drop to closer to maybe 70%.
And in terms of cost of the overall abatement, Lydia, as it actually is completed, I think we'll be publishing figures on that most likely.
Yes.
The other thing, though, to note about just encampment abatements generally, we are seeing now that we have less large-scale encampments. The abatement of Columbus Park and now the jungle. This actually helps us optimize the Beautify San Jose services that are responsible for encampment management. So we know that the larger scale encampments, when you get into the 50, 100 person encampments, those are far more expensive to clear and to provide resources for all those people. So with the less large scale encampments, we will see less of a burden on Beautify San Jose, and they'll be able to optimize some of their costs. So because they'll be primarily dealing with more one-off encampments that are definitely not 50 to 100 people. So that's definitely within the calculus. That's being baked into this proposed operating budget as well, kind of this this optimization of Beautify, and we feel pretty good about that, about the fact that we have cleared many of these large encampments, and that we are now in a mode of preserving progress with the small ones.
Am I on? Yes, I am. I want to ask you a question about conversions of office space to residential and what that means to the budget and revenue to the city. So a good example is the Bank of Italy, right? And I realize that there isn't as much demand for office space as we would like. But let's assume for a second that you could fill the Bank of Italy with business. When you think about how much revenue that generates for the city against it as a residential complex, can you give me a sense of what that means revenue-wise?
I don't have hard figures for the Bank of Italy project. I will say that the conversion from office space to housing will be somewhat rare. I don't think we're going to take every office building that's vacant in downtown and create housing. I'm sure there is a formula out there that we can get from the housing department, but what I would understand it to be is there's definitely calculus being made, especially for the Bank of Italy building, which is a one-off thing. It's been vacant since I think the early 2000s or I think it was 2015 where there was even anything operating. I'll check on it. But we know that taxes and revenue in terms of housing, it's going to be less than the commercial space, but that we'll still see benefit in terms of sales tax and property tax. So I don't know the exact trade-off that we're making when we convert, but I don't think it will be as significant of a cliff, and we're not looking to do this in a blanket case across downtown or across the city. I think in select buildings where it can reasonably be translated or converted into housing, they'll explore it. We know that developers aren't just going to go, it has to pencil. It has to be financially feasible, and I think the city's also not super interested in just selling off all that office space. We do want to see those vacant office buildings filled with employers in the long run for the health.
So there's a similar situation with the Hilton Annex, which is now housing for San Jose State students.
Yes.
I would assume we lost a lot of revenue from hotel room rentals, if in fact there were enough people renting those rooms.
Yep.
Now that building is not owned by San Jose State yet, is it?
I think it is. I would want to double check that, and I wasn't.
It's officially purchased by them?
I think that is the case. And Spartan Village is what it's known as now. And you're right. I mean, we lost a huge hotel space in downtown San Jose. That has impacts to our sales tax. Absolutely has impacts to our transient occupancy tax, which is our hotel tax that helps fund arts and culture programs. There was definitely a hit there. We lost, I think it's something like 800 rooms of hotel nights there. But they were sitting empty. There was a decision made because that hotel wasn't well utilized, and it was better to serve as campus housing for the students that are there. And San Jose State is in dire need of student housing as well. We know that it's something like 40-45% of their student population is commuting from outside of San Jose.
Thanks.
Yep. So you got a microphone, you go first.
Hi, thanks for coming. I think one of the first things you mentioned was we have a budget deficit of 56 million. And then you shared all the 5 focus areas. Excellent. Tell me what we are disinvesting in, if anything.
Yeah.
That was, I think, missing from your presentation.
And there's a reason it's missing. It's because we don't 100% know yet. So the proposed operating budget that will come on May 1st will outline those trade-offs. So the mayor's March budget message, it laid out what we want to invest in. It didn't necessarily have the conversation yet of what are we going to cut and what are we trading off. That will be the discussion as we get into the June message. So stay tuned, because that's going to be those difficult conversations are coming in the next couple weeks. The city manager will come. We have a slight idea of the services that might be cut, and it's mainly going to be programmatic. We're hoping that we're not going to have sweeping layoffs or anything like that, but we will know more, and we'll have a far more concrete answer for you come May 1st.
May 1st?
May 1st is when the proposed operating budget is published by the city manager.
And where and how do we get this information?
So we will absolutely probably share that in our newsletter, I would have a guess. But it will be on the city webpage. If you go to the City of San Jose website and you go to your government, when you go to that tab, you press budget, and it'll be posted in those documents. You can see where it's posted for previous years, but it's not yet published. Yes, sir. Microphone? Oh, you have a mic, so you'll go first.
Oh, is there anything else?
You got a mic, he's going to go after you. We'll get him a mic.
Okay. Keith, first I'd like to say that it's really great to see a local kid grow up in San Jose, educated in San Jose, working for the city. You got a vested interest in ensuring that things are running right here. You know, I think it's really great.
I also recently founded a neighborhood association that I'm serving as the president of, so hey, vested.
Appreciate that. I don't know, can I put you on the spot again about a budget question? Just specifically budget deficits. We were running a budget deficit like at least 3 years in a row. In 2003, I think it was 14 million. Year after that, 24. I think it was like 26. Now it's 53. Why are we continually running a deficit? Why not a surplus? It's not a rounding error. If it's a rounding error, it would go both ways, right? We have a surplus, we have a budget. It seems like we're continually in the hole. And I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, our reserves are gone. We have no reserves. We have to cut now, right? Is that true?
Correct. So there is what's called the budget stabilization reserve, which we put some funding into to help us with next year's deficit, but that doesn't address your question of why we're running a deficit to begin with. The reason for that is, one piece of it is our revenues aren't keeping pace with the costs that we have as a city. Part of that is that unfunded pension liability that we mentioned, which is taking 20% off our general fund on an annual basis. That translates to $380 million this year. So, I mean, our deficit's $56 million, we have a huge pension liability, but our residents still expect a variety of services to be provided. So, you know, in the past couple, this is the first deficit that I've personally dealt with at the city. I've been on the budget team for 3 years, and we had a limited deficit last year, not $56 million. So I can't necessarily speak to what was happening in 2003. I was 3 years old, but I do know that the budget management has improved, and the reason for this is it's economical. It's not a waste, fraud, and abuse thing. It is because our revenue sources just are not keeping up. That has to do with limited development. It has to do with, you know, some might say Prop 13 has an impact here because our tax base just is a little bit older, and that, you know, it's a valid thing to say, but there's not a perfect answer as to why are we running the deficit.
Let me tell you what bothers me about this is we got a lot of high-priced people working in the manager's office. Okay, these are people making good money. All right, these are all predictable things: revenue decrease, taxes, that sort of thing. You ought to be able to predict this. But they ought to be able to. I mean, they could do a Monte Carlo simulation.
I would say they have predicted it. The budget office was projecting in the last couple 5-year forecasts this deficit. And we did prepare last year to help with this. We put aside that budget stabilization reserve last year. We set aside $27 million to help us with this year's deficit. So 100%, we should have more foresight. I do think, though, that the budget office does try their best within our confines and our constraints to prepare and set aside some funds to help deal with this.
Well, we know the economy may not be that good in the future, the near future. I mean, these folks ought to be setting some money aside for that rainy day. I mean, I would hope they're doing it. Are they doing it?
Yes. So I can't give you a hard figure yet. We'll know on May 1st what that budget stabilization reserve will look like for this fiscal year. But I'll tell you, the city manager is extremely conservative in this sense. She does not like spending out of that rainy day fund, the budget stabilization reserve, and she is very protective of that. So we'll continue to have that conversation as we get to June and we pass a June message. But I will say they are definitely mindful of setting some funds aside for them.
Thank you.
Yeah, quick question on another source of revenue. Is there any talk or effort to take over the utilities for San Jose? That the water company, for instance, and PG&E, make sure Patty Western gets her $10 million.
So
going on in that direction.
Yeah, good question. I don't think that the city is, I haven't heard conversations about the city bringing San Jose Water or any water utilities in-house. And briefly touched on it in the presentation about PG&E. The city declined to move forward with a municipal-owned electric utility, and we opted instead to partner and bring new capacity from PG&E into the city. So I think there's 2 gigawatts coming into San Jose. That is doubling our current power supply in San Jose over the next 8 years, I think it is. Tripling the power supply.
Where is that coming from?
It's coming from, they're creating new transmission lines. LS Power and PG&E. There's 2 transmission lines coming into San Jose, one through the Coyote Valley and the other one through North San Jose, and those will provide some. Ben is actually much more suited to answer this. He's pretty steeped in it, but did I miss anything there?
I can, so to kind of piggyback off your comments or about why we're in a deficit, growing the pie, this is the way this is the play we're making right now, is all the investment in AI infrastructure is happening right now, and power municipalization would have taken probably 10 years for us to do, and involved being mired in a lawsuit with PG&E. So instead of that, the city chose to partner with PG&E, and that has led to a $1.6 billion committal in infrastructure upgrades from PG&E, which is allowing us to deliver these projects that bring jobs, that bring revenue growth in the next 2 to 5 years, rather than starting from scratch in 10 years when the boom is likely over.
Thanks, Ben. Any other questions? Lydia again, yes.
So I wanted to ask you about your comment saying that you're going to have a priority on audits of contractors. Do you know how many were done this fiscal year and how many you're planning to do in this area, and is there a focus? So I'm gonna just, let me ramble on for a second and then you can think of your answer. One of the areas is, where's the focus at this time? How many are we going to do? Is it just a snapshot? Or is it going to be something where we're really looking, what's the objective? Do we want to save money? Are we looking for where we're getting ripped off in some of the areas? Will we focus on places like destination home? Or are we going to look at some of the transportation, from that where we've had large contracts, large overruns, et cetera, with MGE and others?
Yeah. So, great question. I would say I don't have we don't know yet the number of audits that we will have money for. These things can be extremely expensive, but we have directed the city manager to allocate some funding for an external audit. What will we audit? It will probably be up to the council decision. We also have the city auditor that undergoes several programmatic audits for the city, and that is council direction. So we'll have to get a list presented, and he can select the ones that he's able and capable of conducting. And then for the ones he's not, that are more forensic financial audits, we'll have to hire external auditors. Now, some things that we would like, what would we like to see? I think where the city grants a significant amount of money, so this could be some of our youth programming, making sure that the nonprofits that we grant money to are conducting the service and having the impact that we want for the dollars. Not to say that they aren't, but just making sure that we are getting our money's worth and the community is being served. There will probably be a conversation about our homeless shelter operators and making sure that we're getting the money or the impact that we want to see from the dollars
You're here
invested.
on that one.
Yep. Which is, that is a variety of organizations that we work with to provide those services. So it depends. I think we'll probably look to department heads as well to say, hey, is this the contract that we should be looking at, and do you think we could be doing better? And then we'll be filtering that to the city auditor and any external audit capacity that we bring on.
So can I just piggyback in on that, because you know I will, from that, but I'm concerned, I'm happy about one thing. We moved the San Jose Animal Services from Department of Transportation, and it's now in Parks. Parks has been extremely decimated on their budget for years. They water trees where there is no tree there. And so that's rather sad. But one of those issues is that because of a lot of feedback from the citizens in San Jose, then the mayor said we will do an audit of the animal shelter. And that was from the state of the city in 2023. The audit came out and it was a slow walk and a slow movement. That's a waste of my taxpayer dollars if we don't have prioritization, emphasis, and ensuring that the city manager is working on the absolute things and not getting a million to-dos from every council person in that area. Somehow, that discussion and what we do, we really have to, let's just say, get back to the basics of what matters in working in our city.
Agreed. You gave me a lot to chew on there. So yes, the Animal Care Service Center will be coming back to the Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services Department. It was there before the Great Recession, and now it's going back home, as people have been saying, to Neighborhood Services. John Cicerelli, the director of PRNS, used to run the Animal Care Shelter. So hopefully he has some understanding of how to correct that. I will say that the Public Works Department did complete, it took way too long, and we agreed, and our office had a lot of frustration with this, but they did complete the audit recommendations that were outlined in that audit, which is promising, good, but now we need to see how the operation and service can be further improved under this new house on August 1st.
And I just think in that area, it was a stop the bleeding as opposed to, let's just see how this is going on this point. And that's the prioritization and urgency that we expect the city to approach in issues like that.
And I think this is also, it was under the Public Works Department. The Public Works Department probably wasn't best suited to be doing that, not to say that they should have done a good job and been having excellent service, but it was a matter of focus. They have a lot of things to cover, and we should make sure it's housed in the correct area, and that's part of that optimization and focus conversation is if we can make a service better by moving it or putting someone else in charge, if the department in charge, we should definitely explore that. So I think the mayor's been on that, and that is very consistent with the message of back to basics and focus. It's just making sure that the people who are actually operating this know how to do their job.
Okay.
Yes.
Have a question, my friend. Same about the animal shelter. I heard the budget, and of course everybody hearing about the budget deficit, and I am always looking to see more spay neuter programs, less euthanizing happening at animal shelter. Do you think, or do you see that there will be less funding going to the animal shelter for the programs, or will it be same?
So, to be determined, again, it will be included in the proposed operating budget, but in the March message, we gave explicit direction around funding the TNR program, the Trap, Neuter, Release program, as well as maintaining current levels of funding for the animal shelter. So I don't think we'll see major cuts there, but what the service looks like and what the balance of spay and neuter versus TNR will be, and hopefully that means that we're also seeing a decrease in euthanasia. TBD, but we have directed to maintain funding and then also fund TNR to previous levels as well.
Yeah, I this question maybe animal shelter is better to answer, but then I asked it once when Jay Terror came. I said, why there's so many people shop then adopt, but there are so many programs I see, but then animal shelter should reach out to local schools, high schools, middle schools, and encourage kids, students, or wherever the youth are, mentioning the importance of adopting from the shelter, rescuing, or if you don't want a pet, at least foster. You could be a vacation foster, a temporary foster, or even 2 weeks, as less as it. The message is not out to many, and a lot of people think shelter has some kind of bad animals. No, you see wonderful dogs. My neighbor adopted a wonderful dog from animal shelter. She's so beautiful. Stevie, her name. So when I mentioned that back then, he said, "Oh, connect us. We will do it." Now, why we are connecting it? Why the animal shelter director, whoever it is, why they're not trying to reach out, send this message out, so then the shelters will be clear, right? I know the mayor is working very hard. A couple of times he did clear the shelters day, all that, but then the management in the animal shelter, what are they doing about this? Thank you.
So I'm not 100% certain what the animal shelter's capacity is to do some of that, like education, like into the schools, marketing, promoting, adopt for shop. I'm sure that's, they have certain messaging that they can, spread. I just don't know what their capacity is. I don't know if they have like a public information officer or marketing team that they can help with that. I think it definitely helps that you are an aware resident that's telling your neighbors, hey, the great things about the shelter program. But I don't necessarily know what the city has coming down and what we're investing in as it relates to that kind of marketing and promotion of it. The city manager and the mayor have both been really strong on promoting this. The Clear the Shelters days, and there's a couple other events that have kind of promoted the adoption from the shelter. They did an event, like a pop-up space actually in downtown, where it was like a cat and dog day where they had a space that was vacant and they used it to kind of be a showcase and kind of like an adoption drive. But I don't know how much budget we actually have allocated to do those kind of special events and marketing campaigns. We'll have to see in May. But I know that the city manager, this is a huge priority for her. She's really disappointed in kind of the state of the shelter. It's something that she wants to see improve in her time as the head of the city. And the mayor, same thing, very tired of the narrative that the shelter is failing our residents and our animals, and wants to make sure that we are serving both populations appropriately. Anyone else? Have I exhausted the questions?
We have one more question?
Right here. Since you're new, I volunteered at the shelter for a better part of 14 years. We used to have an intake prior to 2020 of over 17,000 animals with a 92% live release rate. All right? If you follow the city reports, every year intake has been going down. This year we're on track for only 10,000 animals. All right? Back when we were handling an intake of 17,000 animals a year, the budget was like $8 million. Okay? We had one director and one manager. The director was Sorrell. Okay? Then, in 2020, Clara took over, and all of a sudden we have 3 directors now and 2 managers. And like I said, every year intake has been going down. We're turning animals away. And we used to be the nationwide leader in TNR. We were doing 160 animals a week, felines a week for TNR. Now it's like a trickle. And we got 3 vets. We used to have only 2. So there's a real management problem over there. And I'd sure like to see some correction, some accountability. Every year, in December, people get up and they're really angry about what's going on in the shelter. So, if we're having a budget deficit problem, now's the time. Right now, if you have to divide 17 million by 10,000, that's $1,700 an animal. That's really expensive. That's a problem. That budget should be probably close to 12 million.
I think so. It's going to be in the next fiscal year, because the operations are moving from Public Works to PRNS on August 1st is when the transition is final. I think we will see a reorganization. I can't speak to the personnel, but we're certainly not happy in the mayor's office with how that service has been conducted. I can't speak to necessarily, the release rates. I know that the live release rate is something that's important.
It's terrible.
It's a metric that we need to be paying attention to.
It's no longer a no-kill shelter, it's horrible.
Right.
So, just so you know.
We have our members of our policy team are very dedicated to this issue. I am not as steeped in this. It's just not something I have spent a lot of time on. But I do know this is a priority for us, and we're going to be monitoring the transition pretty closely.
For several years now, there's a poster child report management.
Yep, we agree.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
All righty, well, thank you. And thank you all for being here. Next month, we will be looking further at the general fund, or excuse me, the general plan. Yes.
All right, I also forgot to mention, if you didn't like my presentation and you want to hear it straight from the mayor, May 4th, you will be at the Santa Teresa Catholic Church on Clara and Cahalan, right next to Fire Station 12. If you want to hear it straight from him, please do attend. I highly recommend it. It will actually be in my neighborhood, so it's going to be it's fun, but it's going to be for districts 2, 9, and 10, because this year we have kind of aggregated these budget town halls. So if you want to hear from him, that's the day, and we'll be sending out some more communications about that soon.
Perfect. Thank you, Keith. Thank you very much. So as I was saying, next month we're going to be looking at the general plan task force recommendations for changing how many units can be built on particular parcels and some housing issues. So please come back to our next month's meeting, and we are adjourned. Thank you.